Okay, I think we can get started. Uh, Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the final session of our four-part webinar, Chaos to Clarity, all about building a unified data strategy on Azure. For all the people who joined us for the first three sessions, welcome back. And for anyone who's joining us only for this session, we do have the recordings of the first three sessions available, and they will be put in the chat for you to view after this session. Just some housekeeping. As always, you'll see your mics and cameras have been turned off. But we do encourage interaction throughout the webinar. So please feel free to put those questions in the Q&A section or in the chat, and we will get to it at the end. Also, note the session is being recorded, and we'll make the recording available as well right after the session. And then at any point, if you want more information about any topic you hear today, or you just want to reach out to one of the speakers, you can always reach out to us at info@optimusinfo.com, and we will get back to you. Getting started with the speakers, my name is Vaibhav Mao, so I'm the Vice President at Optimus. I'll be kind of running this webinar series. Joining me today is Salah Ben Slimen. He's from Microsoft. He's a data and AI, specialist. He's been part of many strategic rollouts and engineering initiatives at Microsoft. And he brings a vast experience and knowledge in the security and governance space, which we'll be covering today. So, welcome, Salah. Great to have you today.
Thank you.
So, just a quick reminder also about Optimus. We are an Azure-only partner, Microsoft partner. We've been around for 14 years. We're headquartered out of Vancouver, but serve customers all across North America. And in those 14 years, we've had a lot of customers, over 150 clients. And very importantly, a feature that or a fact that we are very proud of is, we have over 50 or 60 of those clients that we've done more than 100,000 hours of individual engagements with. So that which really kind of stresses on how we like to work with our customers. We like to become almost an extension of their internal team, and we can support the customers with our global delivery centers. We have offices obviously here in Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, and then we also have teams in Argentina, Brazil, and our big delivery center in India. And when it comes to kind of on the services side, we focus on three main areas. We have the cloud infrastructure side, whether that's migrating to Azure or setting up greenfield environments in Azure. We also offer 24/7 MSP services, and then on the app dev side, same thing again, all the way from modernizing legacy apps to native development to testing. We kind of are a full service shop there as well. And then, of course, on the data and AI side, covering topics like today of the whole unified data strategy, all the way from integrations to fabric, dashboarding, and then the AI and Copilot piece as well. Now, just as a reminder about this webinar series, we are obviously on the last session today, but just a quick recap of what we are trying to kind of achieve with this webinar is to kind of address, some of the key challenges that we see in the market today when it comes to the data and this unified data strategy that we are talking about. The key thing being that most organizations find themselves, in situations where they have a siloed data, lack of formal governance, and basically, leading to inefficient reporting or analytics. And so the whole point is, how do you take an organization that's facing those challenges and move them towards a very modern data strategy that allows them to have, real-time analytics and, really incorporate the, up and coming AI features as well. And the four key steps that we've identified are the four sessions that we've had in this webinar. The first one being the unification of your data estate, right, where we centralize and curate all the business data within one single hub, which in this case is Fabric and One Lake. And that was the first session we did around AIS, on how we can integrate all that data in. The second step then being about how do you really kind of transform and kind of manage this data to unlock the value that it has using all the tools that Fabric provides you. So that was session two. And then the last session, which was session three, was now if you have all of this data, how do you expose that to all your users and give them the power to also, leverage those insights using tools like Power BI and Copilot again. So that's kind of the three steps that we've covered so far. And then today's session is while you're doing all of this, how do you make sure that you're doing this in a very secure manner with a well-defined governance strategy in place with using tools like Purview? And that's some of the stuff that Salah will cover today. And the way we've been kind of running this webinar is by following a customer of ours. This is like just a typical customer that we see in the real life. The one that we're following is a retail customer. It's a retail chain, mid-sized retail chain with around 50 stores and an e-commerce platform. And when we started this journey, where we found them in this very similar situation that I just described, right? Siloed systems and data sources, right? When they have their CRMs, a point of sale, or any other third-party platforms, all having their own data, not talking to each other, which leads to lagging analytics and inefficient reporting. Each team struggles to get access to other insights from other teams, and at a holistic level, management does not have the real-time ability to adapt. And then also the third big issue, because they have so many different sources of truth, there's always a risk of the data security. So that's kind of where we started off with them. And throughout this webinar series, this is the journey that we have gone on with them, right? So step one was using those Azure integration services to integrate all the data sources, the CRM, the financial data, POS data, any other data they have collecting in store, the foot traffic, all of that coming into one centralized location. After that, how do you take all of that data and then really start transforming it to unlock the value it provides, right? So, like for instance, you take your POS data and combine it with the foot traffic to figure out, okay, what's your best selling items? You combine it with the weather patterns to see how does different weather affect shopping behavior. You also add demographic data to see how that affects people's buying patterns. And what that allows the stores now to do is to not only prepare for how to best optimize their current stores, but also predict how, when opening new stores, what the best layout should be, where they should place the stores. So that's a really powerful aspect that this allows them to do. And then the third piece of that in the whole Power BI and Copilot thing was that all of this data now they even expose to the end customers, which is their internal users. So for instance, if it's a store manager, right, he can see that traditionally what has a typical day looked like in the past, so he can figure out how to staff his team the next day. Or if there's a weather pattern coming, whether he needs to adjust, what items should be up front, what items need restocking. So it's really powerful because not only do you give them the data when they need it, you can also give that data to them where they need it, using Teams, the ability for Power BI to be integrated directly into Teams, right? It's really at their fingertips when they need it. So now, before I hand it off to Salah, that's what we're going to cover today is in a situation like this where you've gone through this journey, how do you make sure that everything you're doing is secure and well governed, right? So like because it's great to go on this modernization journey, but you still have to make sure that what you're doing does not is not done in the insecure manner. So with that, I'll hand it off to Salah, who will talk about the security, governance, and purview side of things. So over to you, Salah.
Thank you very much. So hello everyone. As Zainab mentioned, my name is Salah Ben Slimen. I'm a data and AI technology specialist here at Microsoft. So you will hear a strong French accent when I'm talking because I'm based in the snowy Montreal, and I'm covering the Eastern Territory here at Microsoft. So it's always a pleasure to talk about governance because even before joining Microsoft, I used to work as also a specialist more focused on the data governance portion. So I worked on several projects when it comes to how to adopt the right technology and the right framework to manage and govern your data. So for the agenda of today, I'm going to start with the challenges that we see with almost all of our customers because these are like common challenges that we see almost everywhere. And from there, I will talk about Microsoft's new framework around governance because today governance is not just about how you govern the data with a catalog, but because it's more than that. It touches also on the compliance side, on the security of the data, which is super critical for our customers. So I'm going to explain how Microsoft helps our customers today to tackle these challenges. And from there, I'm going to correlate the challenges and also our value added through the capabilities of our technology that is called Purview. So, so first with the challenges, and again, based on my previous experiences with many of my clients and today's challenges, we see always the same patterns that comes back. A lot of customers already adopted some data governance solutions and they were not successful because some integrations issues. Sometimes it's tough because you need business people, IT people involved. Sometimes it's not easy to collaborate together, especially if you don't have the right user interface and you don't have the right processes. And also what we see today is that most of our customers have the same challenge, which is they don't really trust their data. And why is that? It's because they don't really know their data. Especially today, we are working in a hybrid environment where you have systems almost everywhere. And nobody's perfect, you know. Each company has different silos, different systems, either on cloud or on-prem. So it's always a challenge to know that data and to have that visibility. And you will hear the word visibility a lot of time today because I think one of the value added of governing your data is getting that visibility and transparency that you need through your data architecture. And uh, of course, some of the systems today are complex and they're not super easy to integrate. So it's also another challenge to be able to connect to those legacy systems and get the knowledge that we need. And if you think about today's reality, um, you can summarize it with these different questions where almost all of our customers today, they want to understand and know their data. So what data do I have? And when you think about this question, it touches also the sensitivity of the data because it's great to know the data that you have in your ecosystem, but it's also important to know what sensitive data do you have today because it's also important when you're protecting that data and also to comply with rules and laws. Like, for example, in Quebec, we have the Law 25, which is mandatory for our clients today to comply with and know their data and know their sensitive data to be able to protect that data. So once you know the data, another reality is that how can I trust my data? So if you think about the quality of the data, today, quality of the data is also kind of like a risk for an enterprise because if you have some quality issues, then you have some inconsistencies in your data, then your reporting is also containing those inconsistencies. So technologies such as Purview help our customers today to get that visibility on the quality of the data, the different dimensions, and so on. So it's definitely one of the biggest top of mind for our customers today. And another thing is, how can I make sure that I'm using the right strategy when accessing my data and delivering the data to my users? Because today we're talking a lot about, how can I use my data to get insights, to do some automation, to get some value for my organization. But in order to do that, you need also to put the right framework and the right policies when you're giving access to that kind of data, because maybe that data is sensitive. And again, it goes back to the first question. Do you know your data? Do you know your sensitive data before even giving access to that data? And all of that is really to make sure that we have the opportunity and possibility to gather some insights around our data, both for reporting, for advanced analytics, and so on. And the last thing, which is I think the most important thing, is again the compliance part, because part of managing your data and going from chaos to really a governed data platform is to comply with the new regulations, and being able to audit what is happening to protect your data and make sure that that uh, and you have the visibility in your data architecture. So if we think about, and I don't know why this isn't moving. Yeah. And if you think about today's market, and based on some statistics, we see that most of our customers, they can't even, or they're having challenges accessing their data and securing that data, which is really important. And again, it touches on the same first question, where you need to be able to classify your sensitive data to make sure that you are putting the right mechanism to secure that data. The second thing is, we see that almost 68% of customers around the world are having challenges to activate that data, so get the knowledge of these tables that you have. And again, since we're in this hybrid ecosystem, it's challenging to integrate with different systems, uh, and to collect the information without having to extract physically the data. So think about today, let's say you have a data platform, you're using, for example, Fabric to extract some of the data that you need for your reporting. Probably you have a high volume of data that you are not really touching, and you won't be touching because you don't really need it for your reporting, but still you have a need to have some visibility on those systems and know, okay, if I have sensitive data there, I need to know it. So when I need to do some auditing, or if my client is asking to delete or archive that data that is mine, then I have the full, again, the visibility on that data, and know, okay, that data is residing in this system, in that system, and I am sure if I delete that data, I'm deleting all the sensitive information about my client. And again, all of that is there to adhere to regulations, which is always a challenge. If you think about in Europe, there's GDPR, it has been for years, and still clients are really having some challenges to comply with those rules. And that's how Microsoft really tried its best to um, reimagine the governance framework that goes beyond just a catalog of data governance. So on the slide, you will see three main elements. So I'm going to start with the one on the right, because I feel that's the big trigger of really adopting um, a data governance framework, because it starts with, let's say, the risk and compliance. The fact that data is a risk for any organization, and the fact that there is a need to comply, again, with rules and regulations, but also a need to being able to manage the access to your data, and also know your data to make sure that you're doing the proper auditing. And that leads you to adopt a data governance strategy to make sure that you get the visibility that will help you protect, again, your data and do that auditing that you need. And again, there's the security portion, which is super critical. And I think um, that's one of the biggest topics today is, okay, I know what sensitive data do I have, which is cool. So this data governance solution really helped me with auto classification and so on. So right now, what am I doing to, put some mechanism to protect that data? Because that's pretty much the end goal. You want to do some auditing and so on, but the end goal is really put the right mechanism to protect your data to make sure that if I know that this table is sensitive, I need to put the right mechanism to block unauthorized access to that data. And I think Microsoft did really a great job at taking those different needs based on really our clients' needs, both in Canada and all over the world, to really create a platform that will help with this kind of needs that touch the security of your data, the governance of your data, so understanding what data do you have, and at the same time help you comply with rules and regulations through one single platform using what we call the metadata. Because today, when it comes to governance, we don't want to ingest the data physically to be able to have a view and understand that data. We want to do it while keeping the data in the sources and getting the information we need using some automation at the same time. And that's how Microsoft redesigned Microsoft Purview. And as you can see here, there are the three different modules there that each comply with the needs that we saw on the previous slides. So the idea here is really to have one unified platform that can help you comply with the risk and compliance. So you will have a set of capabilities that can help with the lifecycle of your data, because that's super important to be able to track the lifecycle of your data and also to manage, for example, policies around data retention. Because some companies, they need to comply with some rules that say, for example, for the data retention, you have a certain period that you need to comply with and certain rules. So that's how Purview has those capabilities through the risk and compliance that can help our customers manage these different regulations. When it comes to the data governance portion, that's where it will help you with the discovery of your data. So again, if you want to do the lifecycle management, the auditing, and so on, you need already to have, or you need to be able to discover the data in your ecosystem. So that's how in data governance, you'll have capabilities that will help our clients automatically discover data through the metadata ingestion that is done by Purview, and help them also build what we call a business glossary, which are basically insights that will help create what we call a governance catalog, which will act as a one source of truth for our customers. And through that one source of truth, they will be able to include some data lineage to get the relationships and the links that exist between different data through different systems. And also the data quality, which is super important today, because I think almost every company today wants to avoid something that happens a lot, which is the garbage in, garbage out. So that's why we have some data quality capabilities there to help assess the quality score of your data, to tell you, hey, you have some missing data in, for example, in that table, which is some which can cause a problem, for example, if you're using that data in some reporting. And again, we're doing all of these things in order to protect our data. And I think that's one of the biggest advantage of Microsoft technologies, that at the same time it helps you with compliance and governance, but also offers you some capability to protect that data that you detected as sensitive. So you have some capabilities around data loss prevention. So if a data is tagged as sensitive and a person that might that didn't know that data is sensitive and is trying to upload it to somewhere else, then that upload will be blocked by the technology automatically. And this is, let's say, what we want to achieve today, being able to have that, again, that visibility through the architecture that we have, but being able to do some, or enable some action automatically to protect our data. And again, we want to do this for any sort of data, so structured or unstructured data, but also in an ecosystem where you have on-prem and also multi-cloud systems. And that is, again, one of the advantages of using Microsoft Purview, because it integrates with both systems on Microsoft, on Amazon, on IBM, on Google, and so on. So if you think about it, those different capabilities have one purpose, which is, again, the same word that I keep repeating, is getting that visibility and transparency that you want to get on your architecture. So discover your data, better know your data, and also being able to track sensitive data to be able to protect it. And we're doing all of that in order to be more confident and trust our data, both on the security side, but also on the quality side. And that's how, with data quality, for example, some analysis around data quality, we are able to say, okay, this is a good quality table, so I'm confident that it doesn't contain any problem, and I won't have any problem, for example, in my reporting, or if I have like a machine learning model that I'm developing, I won't have inconsistencies there. And we're doing all of these things in order to be innovative, because we want to do things to automate, to enhance our processes, but we want to do it responsibly because we want to protect sensitive data of our customers. So in the next slides, I'm gonna more touch on the technical capabilities to correlate them to, again, the capabilities that we saw so far, but also to the challenges that we talked about at the beginning. So if you think about Purview, or let's say the new interface of Microsoft Purview, I think Microsoft did a great job by separating, let's say, two parts in the product. There is one part where it's more about the technical metadata. So once you connect to systems, you are able to ingest the metadata from those systems and discover the data, auto-classify, and so on. There's another part I'm going to touch on also during the presentation, which is more like the business part, where you're going to create what we call data products, because that's the new strategy when it comes to data governance. So we have the technical metadata, and we have also the business metadata, and we want to integrate both together to get the real value of the data, because data governance is not just about the technology, it's also about the processes and the people. So if you think about the technical metadata, which can be the starting point of a data governance, or it can run in parallel with the business glossary, for example. So if you think about the technical metadata first, in Purview, you have a place that is called data map, where you can use out-of-the-box connectors to connect with systems. Like, for example, think about Fabric. Let's say I have implemented today as a retail company. If we take the example of the retail company of today, I have Fabric, I have a data platform, and I have other tools. I have maybe an ERP system, an SAP, and maybe I have a sales, a ServiceNow system also that is running on premise. So in the data map, that's where you're going to be able to connect or create connectors to those systems in a very easy way, because those connectors are just like out-of-the-box connectors that you need to configure really easily. So those connectors will help um, your company connect easily to those systems and connect and collect the information automatically. And that's why we want to use more automation. We don't want to do this manually. So the data map help our customers gather the information automatically, but also use what we call the auto classification, which can help them track sensitive data. So with the auto classifiers, you are able to detect, for example, uh, client names. for example, credit cards, which are sensitive data. So you are able to tag them automatically, which is a game changer because this gives you some information about the data that is residing in that source system, but it gives you also information on the sensitivity of that data. And that's how we are discovering the data without moving the data from one place to another. And Microsoft has over, I think, 200 built-in classifiers, which are basically machine learning models that will run automatically through the scan of the metadata and just give you really a result that tell you, okay, for this table, I found two columns that contain sensitive data. So that way, you know, okay, this source system has some sensitive data. So I need to make sure that I'm auditing that system to comply with my regulations. So this is more on the technical metadata, and that's pretty much the starting of, let's say, the data governance journey, because we want first to do some discovery around our different systems before enriching that information and creating that documentation around our data. So once that's done, you can create what we call a business glossary, and this is the business part, let's say. So it's not like the job of the IT people here. It's more like really the business people, the subject matter experts that gather here together to create the glossary that they're gonna use to enrich the data that we discovered in the previous step. So we will find what we call the business terms, the attributes, some definitions, some documentation, and that's how we're going to create the knowledge about our data to use that knowledge and affect it to the technical metadata in the end to create what we call a data product. And the idea again, and for the people who already know the data governance, we used to think about a catalog at first. So if you talk about any data governance solution on the market for several years, first thing that people will tell you, oh, it's a governance catalog. But we saw this let's say thing a lot where people like, what is the value of a catalog? Why do I need a catalog? What is a catalog? What's the return on investment of it? Because if you think about Fabric, for example, it's a data platform. It takes data, transform it, prepare it, creates reports, create predictive models. So you feel like there's some value that you can extract from that. But before, people, when they thought about catalog, they're like, okay, that's a place where it contains some information, but I can't really use the data. I can do nothing about it. It's just like names and information, technical information that I don't see. And that's how I think Microsoft did a great job at making the data catalog more than just the catalog that I was referring to. It will be acting as a search engine on everything about your data. So it will contain all the information and the technical metadata enriched with business metadata. And through that catalog, you will be having access to data products. So the data product will contain information about the data for sure, but also information about the quality of your data. It will contain information about the lineage of your data. So let's say I'm a data scientist today, okay? And I don't really have access to the database directly. I don't know what data and what source systems are there in the company where I'm working. I know one thing. I need to implement a predictive model. I know the kind of data that I need. Let's say I need data about customers and sales, but I don't know where's that data and what insights can I gather from my data. So what the data scientist used to do before is that he gonna ask for a bunch of people here, hey, where can I find this kind of data because I'm doing this and I have this use case. So today, the data scientist can go to the catalog and directly use natural language to first ask a question or search for information he's looking for, and the catalog will include Copilot, of course. You know, we're Microsoft, so you will hear Copilot always. So you have like an agent that can help you find the right data for you because it's able to navigate all these different data products created by the enterprise to tell the data scientist, here are some suggestions of data products that are interesting for you. And through those data products, the data scientist will have an overview of what's in the data, so some information through the business glossary again. He will have a view on the quality of the data. He will also understand if there are like some information valuable for his predictive model, and he will be able to create a contract, a data contract, where he can request from the data from the owner of the data product, and that's how we can track it and have the auditing that we need and that I talked about in the challenges and the idea of having a governance catalog today. And that is today the value added of the new governed data catalog by Microsoft. Something that is super important, I think, with governance tools today is that we also want to understand the trends and what is happening in my data ecosystem. So with Purview, we have what we call the data estate insights. And basically, those are automatic reports that are generated based on the usage of the data catalog. Again, I took the example of a data scientist in this retail company that wants to build this predictive model. So based on, you know, the interaction of the data scientist with the catalog, with the search words, the data that he's exploring, I can get some insights on the most important data that I have in my ecosystem. I can see what people are looking for. I can see what classifications are the most used. I can also have an overview on, let's say, I connected different systems in my organization. I detected a lot of sensitive data. So in those reports, we can generate a sensitivity report that tell you you have 30% of the data in your infrastructure that is sensitive. So it is really critical because it gives an organization a clear view and the transparency we need. So it can collect all that information, and it is tough to collect that information and get that visibility. So those reports, those automatic reports, are really a game changer for our customers. And also, I talked about data contracts and data sharing. I think that is one of the advantage of having this kind of new data governance solution where you can request the data from a data product. And that way you can deliver the data, for example, through a blob storage or an object storage, and be able to track each person that accessed a data, or maybe just deny access to a data. And that way you are being able to audit everything and control everything on your data. And of course, if we think about data governance, it always comes to the table the data lineage and the impact analysis, because data lineage has been in the market for so long, and it is super important because it's a way to generate a graphical, let's say, life cycle of your data automatically, which is super important. Why? Because let's say you connected different systems. So when you are ingesting the metadata, Purview is able to track links between the different tables that exist in different systems and create links. So let's say there's sensitive data on this SQL server. Okay. So if you are connecting all of your sources to Purview and you are doing the right scanning and you are really doing the right actions to have everything connected, then Purview will be able to track if that data is sensitive and there's a link between that table and other sources. So it gives you that link automatically, and this will give you some visibility on if that table is used by a Power BI, let's say, you know that sensitive data might have flown from that table, from that source to the Power BI report. So if you need to delete the data, let's say from your customer that is residing in that table, you have that visibility that you need to be able to say, okay, so I'm gonna check that source system, I'm gonna check also that blob storage, and I'm gonna check Fabric and Power BI because they use that table. So probably some of that sensitive data is there. So that's how you get that information captured automatically to help you track the data and track its life cycle because it's really important when it comes to compliance. And of course, data quality. I think Microsoft did a great job by bringing state-of-the-art capabilities that helps you really put in place data quality rules. So this is based on what we call the data quality dimension. So this will help you better govern your data because it will give you automatically a view on the potential problem that you will have on your data. So it will help you get some statistics to tell you. So based on this analysis that you did today, you improve the quality of your data by 10% because probably you did some remediation to the pipelines of that are ingesting your data, or you configure something in the application or the transactional database that uh, solve the quality issues that you have. So this will help you also uh, be able to be proactive, get some monitoring, and detect problems if they happen. And this is the last slide where you have to understand that since Purview is a Microsoft product, there's a very deep integration between Microsoft Purview and Fabric. So again, for this customer, retail customer that build their data platform, today, in order to have the visibility on every aspect inside Fabric, in order to document the data about inside Fabric, in order to track the quality of the data inside Fabric, and also be able to apply a mechanism to avoid data extraction without the right authorization from Fabric, then you have Purview that can help you manage and govern the data platform that you created. And that way, you really have an end-to-end platform that will help you really take advantage of the data that you have to get the insights that you need and create some analytics around it. But you also have a technology that help you monitor, govern, and protect the data that you have both inside Fabric, but also think about the old ERP systems, the other legacy systems that you have that you didn't really touch, but that you need to analyze, audit, in order to comply with the regulations that we have today. So that's pretty much for the presentation of today. And before handing over to Vemnav, I want to thank Optimus for the opportunity to have me on this webinar.
Thanks, Salah. That was really great. So, just before we wrap up, just kind of want to recap kind of what we've covered in this whole webinar series, and specifically this session. As we were talking about our, this typical customer of ours, the retail customer. Where we were at the start of this session was they were kind of down the journey of kind of integrating, consolidating their data, and generating all that content. And what we've seen today is how they can now ensure that everything they're doing is secure, it's well governed, and as Salah mentioned, right, it has a lot of visibility into it. So people who need to be able to govern and oversee this whole process have the ability and have the tools to be able to do it, and to make sure that the business goals are aligning with also what the technical teams are doing. So thanks, Salah. That was really informative. Now, before we kind of just do some, housekeeping items at the end, I do want to open up. If there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. And obviously, if there's any questions that come up after, you can still reach out to us at the email that we had provided. And while we are waiting for any questions, if you guys have any, I do want to remind everyone that we are offering a free workshop on anything that you've seen in this webinar series, on the Fabric side, on the AIS, Power BI, or on the Purview side. This workshop will kind of what it'll include is kind of an analysis of your current data landscape, and then a kind of tailored recommendation on what how you guys can convert your current situation into this modern unified data strategy that we spoke about here, and then also provide you with some actionable next steps. So we do have some